Hello and welcome to MindShareTV. I'm your host, Robert Martellacci of the MindShare Learning Report. And here we are, 1 week to go to the Canadian EdTech AI Summit. And I'm thrilled to have joined me for a MindShare Learning moment, Matthew Johnson, who is the Director of Education at MediaSmarts with the upcoming Digital Citizenship Week. We are thrilled to be partnered with MediaSmarts and to empower educators and students with practical research-informed strategies for digital well-being, media literacy, and responsible use. Matthew Johnson, pleasure to connect with you again. I was reflecting back on our presentation we did at South by Southwest that we talked about off air, and that was some 8 years ago. Time flies when you're having fun.
It sure does.
Well, appreciate you joining us today.
My pleasure.
And up in Ottawa, how's the weather up in God's country there?
It's it's really nice. We get one nice day in between rainstorms. We got pouring rain yesterday. We're getting pouring rain tomorrow, but it's nice and sunny right now.
Wonderful. Well, we've been blessed with great weather and getting outdoors. I know well-being is a big part of your focus at MediaSmarts. I try to get outdoors on the golf course, and I was just looking after my well-being playing lunchtime hockey today. So talk to me about the inspiration. It's 20 years. Congratulations, 20 years for you at MediaSmarts and impact, 20 years of impact. I love what you do. There's so much media coming at kids today. It's so important to draw attention to Media Literacy Week. And talk to me about some of the key themes, the goals around Digital Citizenship Week. And then it coincides with our main day at the Canadian EdTech Summit on October 30th next week. And what outcomes do you hope teachers and students will take away?
Well, we first had Media Literacy Week 20 years ago, as you mentioned. MediaSmarts, we've been around for almost 30 years. We're actually starting our kind of Media Literacy Week this year is the start of our 30th anniversary celebration because we were founded back in 1996, way back when the media world was very, very different from the way it is today. But, the things that we need to do, the skills that we need, the critical thinking that we all need to learn is as important as ever, even if it is in different contexts today. At Media Literacy Week, the purpose has always been to just give people a reminder of the importance of media literacy, to keep it on the public radar, to make sure that people are aware how important it is. When it comes to things like schools, a lot of what we're doing is we're making sure that teachers are aware, this stuff is in the curriculum. It's not something that you only teach if you're really enthusiastic about it. Of course, we'd love it if everyone is enthusiastic about it, but it's in the curriculum because these are core life skills today. Everything from learning how to manage your privacy when you're online, to managing online relationships, to being able to recognize reliable sources, being able to recognize things like deep fakes. All of these are skills that all of us need to have. So we've been really pleased that in the 20 years since we founded it, Media Literacy Week has been adopted not just by schools and libraries and other communities across country, but in other countries as well. That the US now has a Media Literacy Week. The EU, quite a few other countries around the world now observe their own Media Literacy Weeks. But it started right here in Canada. Every year we have more partners because it's not really our show. We just sort of provide a place where people can get resources and share their own events. But really, it is an opportunity to showcase the amazing work that's being done in schools and libraries and community groups across the country.
Congratulations. Incredible. I didn't realize that Canada was a catalyst to expand across the world. So kudos to you for that. How is MediaSmarts evolving resources from classic media literacy, like misinformation algorithms, to AI literacy? The accelerated pace is astronomical, and topics such as prompt evaluation, bias, and responsible use in the classroom.
Yeah, really, we're taking two different approaches. So one of them is that we're integrating AI topics into our existing resources because in a lot of cases, AI doesn't necessarily change how we address something, but we do want to make sure that AI examples are addressed. So a good example is our material on sexting, where we have a great program called There's No Excuse, which is all about confronting the moral disengagement techniques, what we
Right.
call the sneaky excuses that people use to justify sharing a sext that someone has sent
Mhm.
them without
Right.
their consent. And you know, that's really where the harm is done. And that's actually what is illegal in Canada is
Right.
sharing a sext. So we've really focused on that. But we wanted to make sure, of course, that deep fakes were included there because we know that actually, until quite recently, that was the major use of deep fakes, more than
Mhm.
for politics, more than for pranks. It was false intimate images or videos of people. And the research that we've seen shows that in very much the same way, the people who are doing it justify what they're doing by making these sneaky excuses through moral disengagement. But at the same time, they're different ones than the sneaky excuses that people use when they're sharing an actual sext.
Right.
So we wanted to make sure that we included those as well so that we were addressing the specific excuses that people use um, to justify making a deep fake of someone without their consent. So that's one approach that we're taking. We're looking through all of our material, whether it is about sexting, whether it's about finding information, whether it's about how much time we spend online, and making sure that AI is represented there. But we're also developing resources that are specifically about AI. So we do have a guide about AI, one for teachers, one for parents. We have a whole bunch
Amazing.
of new lessons, one called Unpacking the Black Box, that really does kind of get under the hood of how
Mhm.
large language models like ChatGPT work, because this is one area where the research really shows that the more people understand about how these things actually work, the better they're able to critically engage with them. And we have a whole new web section coming up that is going to cover how AI and algorithms address everything from our online interactions to how we can trust and verify what we see online to how it determines what things were recommended or shown when we're watching YouTube or Netflix.
Thank you for that. So, we're hearing a lot about digital well-being, attention to mental health, and online
Hmm.
civility. What are most evidence-based tips for schools and families to strike a healthy balance?
Well, balance is what it's all about. It is about identifying how we can make sure that our use of digital devices and screens more broadly, but particularly digital devices, um, whether we feel that it is mindful, so we're making conscious decisions to use it, we're not just using it out of habit. Um, that it is meaningful, so that it is something that makes feels like it has meaning to us. That we're again, we're not just doing the digital equivalent of junk food, um, and that it's manageable. That it's taking not taking over our lives. That it's not getting in the way of other things that are important to us. Things like sleep, things like exercise, things like spending time with friends and family, all of those things that we need to be happy and healthy, or sometimes things like schoolwork, or if you're an adult, paid work that we need to do. So it's not trying to necessarily minimize the amount of time we spend online. We're not setting that as a first goal, but instead identifying whether our use is balanced, and that can be our use of media devices generally, or our specific uses of particular apps or activities, and then coming up with strategies to build better habits to
Mhm.
because there's no question that a lot of the apps and other things that we use are designed to be habit forming. They're designed to keep us engaged. They're designed to keep us using them more often. They're designed to make sure we use them at least once a day, because these are the things that the owners of these apps report to advertisers, things like daily active usage or time spent on the app or engagement. So they're trying to get us to spend more time on them. They're trying to build habits in us that maybe are not always conducive to balanced use. And so we can learn to consciously improve our habits. We can learn, relatively easy and very practical skills for first becoming conscious of what our device habits are, and then improving them. So one of the things that we recommend, for instance, is just over a certain period of time, keeping track of how often you, for instance, look at your phone, or how often you
Right.
use a particular app. And just that consciousness, just becoming aware of it, is often the, a really important first step in deciding, is this serving me the way I want it to? And then again, a first step into reducing perhaps the time we spend or the frequency with which we use it.
Thank you for that. So, talk to me about what leaders should keep in mind to ensure digital citizenship and AI practices work for all learners, including multilingual students with disabilities and those limited to home connectivity.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the wonderful things about using media in the classroom is that it gives different students an opportunity to shine. It's one of the reasons why we really advocate for making media as a part of digital media literacy education, because it gives teachers and it gives students a bigger toolbox, different ways to show that they understand, that they've learned the skills they need to learn. The other thing that I would say is that it is really important for teachers and parents to have empathy and to try to see things from young people's perspective. And that can be young people in general. So it could be helping to understand the role that social media may play in helping them organize in person activities with their friends, the importance of it as a social connection. But certainly for members of different groups, for instance, for young people who don't have English or French as a first language, people who are newcomers to Canada, young people with disabilities, digital platforms can be absolutely essential bridges to something that they're just not able to reach in person or offline.
Thank you for that. Here's a tool that we have that we're giving away at the summit. It's a Faraday pouch that with our brand on it. So if you show up or your colleagues, will get one of these, and they're cell blocking. And most, pretty much every province and territory, and most states have banned cell phone use in the classroom unless it's being used purposefully for podcasting or a
Mhm.
calculator or what have you. Thoughts on that?
Well, I think we're starting to see research from places that have adopted it earlier. And what we're seeing so far is that it doesn't have a really consistent, strong effect.
Hmm.
So we just had a study come out of Florida this week that showed that it had led to a 1 percentage point increase in
Okay.
standardized test scores, which is not nothing, but obviously is not super significant. But at the same time, that's not the only thing that these policies are necessarily aiming to do. And I'm not sure that a concern about test scores was the reason why teachers particularly wanted a policy. I think what's really important is that there is a policy that's in place that is consistent in every school. So, and that teachers know that administrators are going to back them up, and administrators know that the school board or school district is going to back them up, because nobody wants, I don't think anybody, including probably most students, wants a classroom that is a free-for-all with students just using devices whenever they want. I think everybody wants some kind of policy. The problems come when that policy is unclear, when that policy is inconsistent, or when the policy is not backed up by the school, the board, the province, or territory. And I think it is much more helpful to talk about these in terms of policies rather than bans, because a ban on something, when we ban something, we're saying that it is bad, and that you either shouldn't use it or you should use it as little as possible. But that's unrealistic. We all have these devices. Even if it's banned from bell to bell, kids are going to be using them the moment they get off school grounds. And we, as their parents, and frankly, their teachers, use these devices as well. So rather than saying, let's have a ban of them, I think it is really important reframing to say, let's have a policy that says clearly when and why you can use these, when you can't, and what wiggle room there is, under what circumstances a teacher can say, yes, I'm going to let you use these devices for this purpose, or times when it's allowed.
Right. Thank you for that. So Digital Citizenship Day falls on the day of our start of our summit, and we're thrilled to be partnered with you at the Canadian EdTech AI Summit. What can attendees expect from MediaSmarts on that day in terms of activities and resources, and how can we carry the momentum for the rest of the year in harnessing all the great work that you do? Definitely we'll be showcasing and talking up media awareness, your platform, and Digital Citizenship Day, and sharing your resources. Thoughts?
So we have sample resources, or selected resources, for every day of the week, and each one of the week's days includes what we call one of our plug and play lessons. So these are lessons where we created a video. Sometimes there are tip sheets or handouts that go with the video, but essentially the video lets a teacher really just play the video, pause it at certain moments to run a discussion, and then sometimes, again, as I say, there will be handouts or other activities to do afterwards. But we really like these activities because they remove pretty much all of the friction that's involved. So if you decide, on Tuesday that you want to do a Digital Citizen Day activity, on Wednesday, you've got this plug and play lesson. You don't have to read the lesson plan. You don't have to photocopy anything in most cases. You just put it up on the screen. You pause for the discussions. So these are really great ways of getting kids involved in all of the different aspects of digital media literacy that we cover across the week, ranging from things like online hate to cyberbullying to body image and photo manipulation, and really all of the issues that young people are facing. And they're across the grades as well, with resources starting as early as kindergarten, where kindergarten kids, for instance, can talk about Halloween costumes and what they mean with Halloween coming up. And of course, going to the really serious issues that high school kids are dealing with.
With that, thank you so much. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick little lightning round and 60 seconds. one myth about digital citizenship that we should retire?
I think we should retire the idea that it is all about online safety and that it's all about responsibilities. Digital citizenship has to be as much about teaching kids what their rights are and how they can exercise those rights in the online world and using online tools.
Thank you for that. One skill every student should master this year.
I think it is sharing responsibly, making sure that when you're sharing information, you know it is reliable, and making a point of sharing accurate information so that we can change the ratio of good to bad information out there.
Finally, one MediaSmarts resource every teacher should bookmark.
I think simply our digital media literacy framework, which has hundreds of lessons from K to 12 across 9 different aspects of digital media literacy. Every single one of them is free to download. Every single one of them is in both English and French, and they're all tied to the curriculum of every province and territory.
With that, Matthew Johnson, thanks so much for your insights, for the vital work that you and your MediaSmarts colleagues carry forward nationwide. Digital Citizenship Week is a perfect moment for schools to lean in, and we're excited to amplify that at the Canadian EdTech AI Summit. Links to MediaSmarts and resources and summit partnerships are in the show notes. I am Robert Martellacci of the MindShare Learning Report and proud chair of the Canadian EdTech AI Summit. Be sure to check out www.MindShareLearning to connect and perhaps attend. We have a special reason to want to connect next week, and that's we have a special Blue Jays World Series VIP dinner experience that we're planning for those who register and qualify to win 1 for 2 delegates. So with that, be sure to stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.